All right. I think I got this set up. This is my first, this is my maiden voyage on YouTube Live. How about that? I was using StreamYard and all this other bullshit. Let me see if I can move this window up here. How the fuck is everybody? Good. Holy fucking shit. Is everybody watching gold? This is end of the world type shit going on right now. Can everybody hear me? Who knows? Let's see. My little microphone thing fucking working. Come on, you bastard. Moderation helps everyone feel safe. I love this already, YouTube. To build a positive live chat experience for you and your viewers, choose who can participate. Hide or put people in timeout. Hey, kiss my ass and suck my dick. How does that sound for fucking feeling safe? Honestly, you know what feeling safe has done for everybody? Feeling safe has resulted in what I wrote about this morning on my blog, which is Tim Seymour 9 years ago laughing in Bill Fleckenstein's face on CNBC when Bill Fleckenstein said the market was unshortable. Correct, right? This is 9 years ago. The market was unshortable. The first bond market that'll crack up is Japan. Fucking correct. Obviously happening right now and happened back in April or whatever it was, last April. And he's long gold and miners. And voila. If you add out the idiocy of everybody measuring Bitcoin back to the first fucking 10 cents that it traded at, gold and miners are now beating the S&P and the NASDAQ. I just looked on a 1 year basis and on a 5 year basis. And I think they're also beating it on a 10 year basis, although the total returns of miners and the S&P I didn't look at. If not, they're damn close on a 10 year basis. But I think going back to like 2000 now, gold has outperformed the market. And fucking voila, who was right? The big fucking Vegas freak show, balding, bartending idiot from Philadelphia. Fucking whoop-de-doo. From day one, I was saying you don't have to be a genius. You don't need, look, I don't even have my books here, but you don't need to have any fucking, I got one book. It's Basic Economics by Thomas Sowell. You don't need to have a fucking degree from Princeton or Yale. As a matter of fact, the dickheads in government and in central banking that walking around with these PhDs are still trying to figure it out. Oh, what's going on in the gold market? It's like, bitch, fucking modern monetary theory. That's what's going on in the goddamn gold market. How the fuck can I understand that? And you imbeciles can't. It has to be, it has to be blissful ignorance at this point. I saw Scott Bessent get interviewed I don't know, a couple weeks ago, and I liked Bessent, and he's a gold bug, and he's a smart dude. Sorry, I'm just moving the camera here. I like Bessent. He's a smart dude, and he's a gold bug, and I think he generally knows what he's doing. But they asked him back at 3,000 or 3,500, like, what does the move in gold mean to you? And he's like, more buyers than sellers. It's like, motherfucker, you know what's going on. You know some shit's going on behind the surface. You know who's taking fucking delivery of all those gold bars and silver, leaving COMEX. Don't try to tell me more buyers than sellers. This has been a absolutely nuclear, generational, biblical move up in the metals over the last year. You know, I talk about a 5 year, 10 year. Just looking back, the last year this move has taken place. I mean, gold was at like 1,300 or 1,500 like 2 years ago or 3 years ago. So this move has taken place in short order, and it's still going. I swear, after today, I was like, it's going to take a breather here. You know, I figured it's up on the Greenland shit, and it's up on the JGB market, you know, kind of melting down. But I was like, damn, you know, we're approaching the $5,000, which is big technical resistance, technical analysis, meaning big round numbers look scary to some people. And when you're on the bottom of them, and they look nice to some people when you're on the top of them. There you go. Technical analysis in a fucking nutshell. Um, but I thought that approaching 5,000, you know, we might see some little bit of a sell off here actually in this overnight session. We'll see what it looks like, you know, in 12 hours at the cash open. But again, it's up another $55 right out of the fucking gate tonight. And it just feels like something massive is happening. I mean, look, again, you didn't need to be a fucking genius to see that this was coming, right? Like we were spending more than we had. Our deficits were accelerating. Our debt it still is accelerating. Monetary policy has been a complete joke. We got central bankers running around saying we have infinite cash. We've completely lost all semblance of reality. Russia and China were de-dollarizing going back like 4 or 5 years now. We've all been writing about it. Everybody's seen about it. The only people not talking about it are the fucking people in financial media, okay, and everybody else. But for our ragtag group of fucking degenerates, me, Larry Lepard, Andy Scheckman, Peter Schiff, all these Austrian guys that I hang out with, that I just sit around and for 10 years I've been walking around thinking like, am I fucking nuts? I did that presentation on gold back in 2018. Whitney Tilson was nice enough to invite me to his short seller event, and everybody wore a tie and got up there and did a very, very clinical job pitching a short. And I was like, fuck this, short everything. Don't short this company, that company. Short the whole system and do it by going long gold. Okay, that was 7 years ago. Gold was at $1,300 an ounce. All right, so gold has tripled or more than tripled since then. And what did I like? What was the big secret? What did I know that anybody else didn't know? Nothing. I got to New York at 10 a.m. I drank 5 Moscow mules. I did my presentation. I was sweating and fucking out of control. I remember I had just started dating a girl at the time, and she came with me, and I think she was put off by the whole incident, to be honest with you. She's like, "Oh, you're presenting at a financial conference. That's nice." I'm like, "Fucking strap in. You have no idea what you're about to witness." And but the truth of the matter is, look, you can either bet on government efficiency and bet that these people understand what they're doing, and bet that everything that sounds like it doesn't make sense actually does make sense, but you're just not smart enough to understand it. Or you can fucking not let your lion eyes lie to you, and you can look at things and say, hey, Stephanie Kelton's a moron. Paul Krugman's a moron. So look, there was always going to be a blow off valve. This is biblical right now. I have a piece that I just wrote tonight that's coming out on my Substack tomorrow morning. Talk about this Greenland thing, and no matter how you feel about it, to me it feels like the end of an empire for the US, right? So it's not just the move in gold that is portending that, or at least portending some massive global monetary reset. This stretch to kind of annex Greenland, or I'm sorry, to buy Greenland, or if not to take it by force, or whatever Trump is drumming up. Like, I understand the impetus for it, right? But the rest of the world is looking at this after we seized, a couple $100 billion in Russia's FX reserves, and the Japanese are holding $1 trillion in treasuries, and all of a sudden can't service their debt. And the rest of the world's watching this and saying, like, psychologically, you have a country here that looks like it has lost confidence in itself, because it looks like a sprawling empire that is now just, it's like in Risk when you put, one or two pieces on each country. Yeah, you spread out and you've got a lot of territory, but it's very easy to fucking conquer. And we're just spreading ourselves too thin here. And I think the rest of the world sees that. And I think that's why we have the move happening in gold and silver. And it's just fucking like, I don't know. I mean, it's felt like end of empire for a while. And the price of gold, the price of silver are showing that. Nominal stock prices, who knows where they're going to go? I mean, they've obviously gone higher. I wrote a piece the other day talking about how, look, we're trading at a Shiller price to earnings ratio of 40 earnings. And, everybody looks at that and says overvalued. And I'm looking at it now and I'm like, what is overvalued anymore? When we started doing quantitative easing and decided we were going to embark down this path where QE was just going to swoop in and save the day on every 3 or 4% move lower in equity markets, well, we kind of put ourselves on a path that we can't turn off of, and one that isn't necessarily going to allow the nominal price of stocks to fall, but is going to destroy the dollar, which is what I think is happening. So, looking back at historical price to earnings ratios and things of that nature, which I've done over the last 2, 3 years to make the case that equities are overvalued. I'm actually thinking now it might not make sense because, like, the last 20 years that the market has been at the behest of quantitative easing are very different than the first 100 years that we had the Dow Jones, where the money supply was fixed. We had sound money. We didn't have quantitative easing. We didn't intervene in markets. And so, how are you going to take historical price to earnings averages from fucking 1930 and compare them to what's going on now? Because the market has become such a distorted, mutated, fucking toxic monster right now that it would be completely unrecognizable to people in the 30s. And that's, look, if you want to argue the market is always going to go up in nominal terms, that's fine. It should be an orderly fucking up and to the right. The market, the indices are going parabolic, which means they're accelerating, right? And so to me, it's like, I don't even know if we can look at price to earnings ratios anymore. Really, the money is fake and nothing matters. And so how are we going to, reason and use logic, economic sense to try to say, okay, like a 40 PE is overvalued now. So as far as equities go, who the fuck knows? But, look, the blow off valves for modern monetary theory were always going to be gold and silver. And now the Japanese bond market is cracking up, right? As was predicted by Bill Fleckenstein, obviously, sans timing, but he got it right. And Japan is cracking up now. And so their option is going to be either, zap global liquidity by, not doing quantitative or not doing yield curve control, or intervene in the bond market. And it's going to be print, inflation, as far as the money supply is concerned. And the yen is, torched, and the Japanese economy is torched, and the U.S. isn't far behind. And so, U.S. yields are rising now at the same time that the federal funds rate is going lower. You have bonds and stocks and the dollar all selling off at the same time, which is emerging market kind of shit. And it just feels like the world is calling us out that we're fucking broke and we're insolvent. And instead of minding that and doing what we thought was going to happen, which was a cut in spending and some more, and there may be some of this in the offing, like we may do that 250-year gold backed treasury. Who knows who's been taking delivery of the gold? I hope it's been the US. But really, it's almost like the last thing we should be doing is looking to buy Greenland. Like, we stop fucking spending should be the lesson right now. And, gold is just showing us that something is horribly wrong. And let me tell you, if the US bond market goes and the Fed has to do yield curve control, the resistance at $5,000 an ounce is going to be like fucking Tinker Toy bullshit nonsense. Right now, I'm inclined to think, all right, maybe 5,000 will be a breathing point for gold, and $100 silver. Those seem like obvious areas where you'd see resistance. Man, what a fucking astronomical move. But if we get to 49.50 and the Fed comes out and says, we're going to start buying bonds, fucking like Larry Lepard said, sold to you, sold to the Fed, right? This is how that's how you sell them on the floor back in the day with the pit traders. If that happens, we'll go right through fucking 5,000 with sparks shooting out of our asshole. And the next big resistance number might be 7,500 or might be 10,000. So who the fuck knows? I mean, there's an argument that gold and silver are just catching up to decades of quantitative easing that they haven't priced in yet. I don't know if that's the case, but something is going on. I would bet everything I own that China has more gold than they're letting on. And behind the scenes, look, I've said this a million times with Andy Schectman. We've been talking about it for years. It's, Andy always says it will probably be a Sunday night when, China comes out and says, hey, we got 10 times the gold that we used to, or something like that, or Saudi Arabia, or, a consortium of, BRICS nations say, look, we don't need the dollar anymore. Or there's an announcement that there's treasuries that are going to be sold. There was some Danish, I think, insurance company or something I saw this morning that said they were dumping their treasuries, their U.S. treasuries. They won't be the last, and it's coming. And honestly, I feel like George Costanza talking about the addition on the Guggenheim, like, really wasn't that fucking hard to see to begin with. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm not the smartest fucking guy in the world, Like, I have crushed thousands of beer cans on my head over the years. And, there was a point where that was the only thing my resume consisted of. And it wasn't that long ago. So if I can figure it out, I feel like anybody can. And the nice thing now is, Bitcoin has ushered in the era of the everyday guy understanding monetary policy. And so people now get exactly how stupid monetary policy is in this country. And people are just going to, I don't know what's going to happen in the next round of QE. People are just going to ridicule it like they did during COVID. And I think everybody knows the numbers are made up. The money is monopoly money. And, fucking good luck to everybody. But I think anything that has a fixed supply is going to go up. I think the wealth gap is going to continue to widen, which is hilarious because, both Democrats and Republicans stand behind monetary policy. One party, Democrats, are obsessed with equality and equity. And meanwhile, they're ushering in policies, not now. I mean, it's the Trump administration is doing the same thing, but under Biden was also doing the same thing where, they're basically ushering in policies that assure that the wealth gap is going to go widen. And so, there's going to be a terminus somewhere. Something's going to break. Right now it's showing up in the price of gold, but I think it'll show up in some type of civil unrest at some point because the quality of life for lower and middle class Americans is just going to get worse and worse with the more money that we print. And the only idea that we have and the only out we have is yield curve control and money printing. When we lose the bond market, which is going to happen, it's happening in Japan now, and it will happen in the U.S. As what does he say in Three Amigos? As sure as my name is Lucky Day, All right. Thank you to 113 of you. Now I will take questions until I get sick of ranting for a little while, and then I will go about what I was doing this evening beforehand, which was, where is it? Here it is, which was fucking preparing myself it's like this. Okay. I was preparing myself a cup of, there it is. I can't do it. How do weathermen do this shit? Hey, look at this. Here it is. I was preparing myself a cup of Cafe Bustelo instant espresso coffee located on the tip of my finger right now next to the Windex, which is next to the paper towels, which is in the kitchen, which is also my living room and my bedroom. All right. Now, any fucking questions before I get out of here? PPLT and palladium. I don't know what PPLT is. Is that platinum? But yes, if it's platinum and palladium, I own them both. And they were two of the things that I put on my list of 26 stocks I'm watching for 2026, SPPP and PALL, I think. They're both up already. So that's great. Take all your pictures now. I'm doing a great job 20 days into the year. Please consult the scoreboard now before I fuck everything up and everything is for the rest of the year. Thank you. Bitcoin's still a play in any capacity. I own it. I have no idea what's happened with it. I have a position that if I lost 100% of it, it wouldn't piss me off. It would piss me off, but whatever. I still don't know what's going to happen. It's all based on adoption and based on ducking the quantum computing fucking. I don't know. The more I listen to Michael Saylor and the more fucking preferred stock products and bullshit that he puts out there, and the more he sells stock to buy Bitcoin, the weirder it gets. The more he reminds me of Alex Mashinsky. I don't know why. I don't know. I don't feel this way now, but I'm inching closer towards feeling like there isn't a there when it comes to MicroStrategy. I don't know if that means MicroStrategy will blow up and Bitcoin will survive, or they'll both blow up, or they'll both survive. I don't know. But there is just I'm starting to get an icky fucking feeling from that company. And I don't know why. It's just, Bitcoin is a debatable risk on nascent financial asset that is very difficult to value because the value is subjective and it's brand new and nobody knows whether it'll stand the test of time. So that's one thing. But then to take, 50 different derivative products off of that and then just do a bunch of fucking financial shuffling the cards on the table to try to make the appearance of a business happen when really all you're doing is buying Bitcoin. Yeah, I don't know. So I'd much rather own gold. I've said that for a long time. And but I do own them both. I have essentially a call option on Bitcoin. I have some other like investments in the Bitcoin atmosphere, that small ones, but ones where if Bitcoin survives, I'll do well on. And I'm in them almost as a leap of faith. I don't care to try to understand what the runway looks like going forward. I trust that much smarter people are doing that. It feels like an idea whose time may have come. And I would be remiss if it does play an integral role in a new monetary system going forward. And I wasn't there to dip my feet in. But having said that, my gold position has always been many, 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 many multiples larger than my Bitcoin position, and it'll probably stay that way for a little while. Do you have any time to attend George Gammon's Rebel Capitalist Live in May? No, and I don't want to do nothing against George, but I don't want to do any fucking like shit. I don't want to do any conferences. I don't even like doing podcasts. I don't like leaving the house. I like to go running, hang out with like one or two of my best friends, and that's it. All right, next question. Do you think there is a problem with paper silver and paper gold? Yes. Is it a short squeeze? I have no idea, but you should go back and listen to Andy Scheckman on Thoughtful Money with Adam Taggart. And the title of the video is Could Silver Go to 200, I think. But it was about 3 weeks ago. I wrote about it on my blog. So if you go to my Substack, scroll down a couple of articles. I know the title of the one on my blog is, I think, Could Silver Go to 200? Check that out. There's like a 2-hour interview with Andy Scheckman in there. He explains all the shit that you're talking about, the paper claims on physical silver and gold, and what that could mean going forward. Definitely worth checking out. And for sure, there's fuckery. Just like I'm talking about these derivative products off Bitcoin, when you have derivative products off anything and you're not holding the underlying, and especially when you have, 100 to 1 or 1,000 to 1 representing it on paper, there's going to be all kinds of fuckery, all kinds of leverage. There's no doubt in my mind that somebody's getting caught offsides in this metal trade. Might just take a little while for us to figure it out. All right, next question. What happens to Bitcoin security when the electricity needed to mine it is worth more than the coin? I don't know. Next question. Hey, that's the great part about working for myself. You know the answer? Fuck it. No fucking idea. That's my official on the record answer. I got nobody to answer to. What are you gonna do? Fire me from my fucking studio apartment? You can't fire me. All right, what's next? Would you ever trust your assets in storage for distribution? I don't know what that means. Pass. That's another thing. I just pass. I don't know and pass. Between that's going to be about 90% of my answers. Any other questions? Chris would make an excellent guest on, yeah, okay, whatever. Thoughts on nuclear and uranium? I was very long nuclear and uranium going into last year. I wrote about NLR, URA, a bunch of other fucking nuclear and uranium names going into 2025. They were part of my 25 stocks to watch for 2025. They did exceptionally well. I bought Aklo when it was at fucking like 6 or 10, went to 130. Just crushed it last year on the nuclear trade. This year, a little bit more reserved on the nuclear trade, but still bullish on uranium and nuclear in a secular sense. I own 2 different names going into this year than I did the year prior. They're in my 26 stocks to watch for 2026, located on my blog, Fringe Finance. But if you just watch me on Twitter, you probably figure out what the fuck they are anyways. But yes, I mean, nuclear has to happen. It's clean, it's green. I've been saying for years, it's the like common sense solution to energy. I don't understand, some bad press from Fukushima and Chernobyl, and all of a sudden nobody wants to embrace it. But as far as all these, imbeciles on the left talking about climate change, it appeases them and it gives us the energy that we're going to need to power our data centers so that, we can all sit at home and fuck around on Chat GPT. What could the ramifications be for the U.S. dollar if the U.S. keeps trying to dismantle BRICS with military force and other tools? Not good. I covered that earlier in this podcast while talking about Greenland, whatever the fuck it's called. Not good. End of empire shit is my short answer. But look, you're seeing it right now. You're seeing it right now in the price of gold, and I don't know what the DXY has been doing, but I imagine it's down because gold is up. And look, I think the dollar's role as a reserve currency is over on the global stage. I think it's just hasn't been labeled yet, but I think the rest of the world has figured it out. Uh, Good to see you making videos. Yeah, great to be here. Love your energy too. Is the Shanghai exchange forcing true price discovery? Maybe. I don't know. That'd be another great question for Andy Scheckman, who understands this shit more than I do. But certainly the Shanghai exchange has kind of led the price over the last month or month and a half to the best that I can see. And it's been out in front of the price. So that could very well be the case. Whether or not there's any fuckery or anything involved over there, I'm not really sure. Any other questions before I call it an evening? What time is it? It is, oh yeah, it's definitely time for me to call it an evening. It's 9 o'clock. It's past my bedtime. I am 40 plus years old and balding. Anything else? Forever hold your peace. Speak now or hold your peace. I'm about to click the end stream. Who is Steve? I don't fucking know. Who's Steve? Later. Okay. Later. Bye. Love you. Talk to you soon.